Okay, so we are days away from the end of the summer season for 2025 and I'm over here at Bristol Airport. We're flying back to the island today on EasyJet, and on this flight, well, I don't think it should be going, and you're going to find out why in this video just a little bit later on. But it's currently about 13 degrees over here in Bristol. It's absolutely freezing. We're heading back to the sunshine, thank goodness. So let's turn the camera around and let's go and see what Bristol Airport is like today. So we are cutting it a little bit fine today. It's 4:45. Our flight is supposed to be going out at about 5:05 today, but EasyJet have already sent a message to say that our flight is going to be delayed by 40 minutes. So we did take our time getting here, and we also popped into the Marks and Spencer's food hall. Let's head on through departures. So just taking a look up at the board here, our flight to Palma going out at 5:05 is now delayed until around 20 to 6, which is a little bit of a shame. Let's check out the airport today. So it's not looking particularly busy over here. I'm just going to pan the camera around. I think all the TUI flights have already gone out, but we do have some flight passengers making the most of a very last minute summer break in the Mediterranean before the majority of these daily flights stop for the summer. And look, I love this, that EasyJet have rolled out their Halloween decorations. Anyway, let's head on up through security. Look at this, it's not even 4 o'clock and the sun's starting to go down over here in the UK. Winter is pretty much officially here. Don't forget, over here at Bristol you can take 2 litres of liquids through now. We're not restricted to the 100 millilitre liquid limits. Now, security isn't a slow process anymore now with these brand new machines where you keep absolutely everything in your bags. It's absolutely brilliant. Let's see how long it takes to get through today. Okay, so it took about 10 minutes to get through, and we weren't stopped just for the cheese and the spices that we had today, but my daughter was also stopped because she had nail glue in her pocket. Also, as well, she had coins in her suitcase too, so that sent up the red warning. I'm not quite sure why, but anyway, we got through eventually. Okay, so walking into the departure hall, it's not looking particularly busy today, not like from what we saw in the summer. But we do have a little bit of time on our hands, which is why on this occasion we're going to go and pop over to Starbucks and go and get a hot drink before our flight is called, and then have some time to do some shopping too. Okay, so just stopped off to grab a very quick cup of tea, a little bit late in the day for coffee. But the reason I wanted to make this video, well, I'm talking about the shape of things to come, quite possibly, with regards to flying. Now, when I booked this flight back to Palma today, I think around 13 or 14 people had actually booked onto the flight, and that's excluding myself and my daughter and cabin crew as well. They're flying a huge 300-seater plane to Mallorca with hardly anybody on it. Now, this is quite unusual because over the winter months, when the flights have been scaled back, well, as of next week actually, when the flights have been scaled back, you're going to see those flights to Palma, which will be running twice a week from Bristol, to be very, very packed, but not at the moment, and not this final week of the season. Now, with half-term holidays almost coming to an end, I'm guessing the people flying back are going to be other half-termers coming over to here to see their families. And in fact, I think about 4 or 5 people on the flight as well. One person I do know actually used to be an ex-colleague of mine at my previous company, and his family. So there's going to be a couple of other people on that flight and us. Is this an environmentally friendly way to fly? Well, I don't know. And sometimes, you do have to wonder about your carbon footprint. Well, that flight was going anyway, and well, we're going to be on it. But I did want to draw your attention to quite an interesting article actually that I saw in the summer, and it's about a carbon passport. And it's an idea which is currently being talked about. Now, with everything going on at the moment, particularly over here in the UK, with all talk of digital ID, do we also need a carbon passport? Should I have a carbon passport if I'm flying on a 300-seater flight that's only filled up with barely 15 people? I don't know. But look, there was an article out this summer talking about this, and I'll just read it out to you as well. It says, carbon passports could be introduced to restrict how frequently Britons are permitted to take overseas holidays as part of efforts to tackle climate change. Specialists argue that tourism plays a significant role in fueling climate change, with the industry responsible for approximately 1/10 of greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to the crisis. Ross Bennett-Cook, a visiting lecturer at the University of Westminster, said the negative impacts of tourism on the environment have become so severe that some are suggesting dramatic changes to our travel habits. And these are inevitable. In a report from 2023 that analysed the future of sustainable travel, tour operator Intrepid Travel proposed that carbon passports will soon become a reality if the tourism industry hopes to survive. Well, I think that'll probably rule out a lot of travel for expats living abroad, particularly those of us that travel quite frequently back to and from the UK. But the article does go on to say certain European nations are starting to implement measures to curb air travel. In Belgium, passengers on short-haul flights and older aircrafts now face higher taxes. France has put a ban on short-haul domestic flights, while the same journey can be completed by train in 2.5 hours or less, with similar restrictions expected to be introduced in other major European countries soon. And I think this is actually happening in Madrid because, well, as you know, they have the Renfe trains which run from Madrid out all over Spain. Actually, it's quicker probably to get a train to, say, Barcelona than it is going to the airport and getting a flight. Plus, I noticed as well on our extreme day trip, which we did to Barcelona recently, go and check out that video. I'll drop a link to it in the description text below. The taxes that we had to pay were actually quite high, and the taxes were basically the cost of the ticket. So it is going to drive prices up. But as I mentioned in my Islands update this week, while the travel industry is concerned, they are worried about a price hike taking place with summer holidays for next year, for 2026 and 2027. Are we going to be prepared to have a carbon passport? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about it? Do you think our flight should have gone out today? Because it's not just this flight I'm on this afternoon. Like I said, I'm on the 5:05. Still a bit on the delayed side, still delayed to 20 to 6, but there's also another flight going out to Palma this evening at around 8 p.m. So if you weren't on this flight, there's going to be another flight running almost empty later on this evening. Now this week, this half-term week, this last week of the holidays in October has been traditionally quite a quiet week for travel to the islands and to other destinations in Europe. Most holidaymakers and most families will travel right at the beginning of the half-term holidays, but this is why we're seeing basically a handful of people on this flight tonight. And I can safely say as well, the majority of people going tonight are going to be returning residents from holidays. So anyway, it is food for thought. We're seeing this summer as well, over in Palma, during the very busy summer season, flights were taking off from Palma Airport and coming into land every 3 minutes. I mean, air traffic has been absolutely insane. It's been crazy, the amount of flights coming into land. Go back and check the most recent live stream I did from the playa to Palma, and you would have seen that I was watching flights coming in to land every couple of minutes. It was just like this never-ending stream of flights coming into Mallorca for the summer season. So let me know what you think about it. Should there be a carbon passport? Should we be stopped from travelling as much as we are at the moment? Should we be paying more taxes, or should we just be putting up the prices of holidays? Let me know in the comments below. And also, more to the point, would you be prepared to have a carbon passport along with your digital ID, UK viewers, along with your passport and your ID cards and just about everything else now you have to take with you when you go on holiday? And in our case as well, travelling, because we are residents, we've got our TIE cards as well to head on back through Spain. And as I edit this video, a Category 5 hurricane has devastated Jamaica, and it's clear that climate change isn't a distant threat and the devastation that it can bring. So what do you think? Would the introduction of a carbon passport make any difference in reducing the impact of climate change? Have your say in the comments. Okay, so let me know what you think in comments. In the meantime, we are going to be heading through Terminal A for the final time for summer 2025 on our return journey. I did receive an email from EasyJet a few days ago saying, be prepared for the EES when you're now entering Spain. If you watch my rollout video, the EES rollout video, they're going to be registering about 10% of passengers. I did also hear that the EES and registration would not be taking place over at Palma Airport until November. are we going to get checked today? On the basis there are about 15 people on the flight, it might actually be a good time to try it. Maybe we're going to spark up a few machines and run a small test. I don't know. Let's see. Stick with me. I'm going to have my cup of tea, probably head into a couple of shops if we've got time, and then we're going to head on over and get our flight. And fingers crossed too, we might get some nice views leaving the UK today, because while the sun is setting, it's already getting dark, so hopefully we'll see that sun going down. Okay, so I'm going to finish this and let's head on over to the gates. Okay, so there's no alert on the EasyJet app, but I can just see on the boards here that we're boarding out of gate 16. So let's head off. So I have to admit, as we approach 5 o'clock, it's practically dark outside, and it really does feel like winter has already arrived here in the UK. And you can see as well, look, the airport is almost on winter mode. Not as many people here as we approach the end of October. Let's just get a very quick overview of the airport today. And you can see what I mean here. Look, not very many people at all, but anyway, let's get going. And it even looks like we've missed sunset this evening. Look, it's got dark very quickly. As I said, we've just gone 5 p.m. But the good news with the time change is that we're going to have light in Mallorca until around 6:30. We have slightly longer days than you get in the UK, which is almost a much bigger incentive to come over to the island on holiday over the winter months. But more about that soon. I will be having Majorca in November coming out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. My goodness, this is feeling like the longest walk ever. But anyway, we're right at the end of the terminal. Let's head on down. And you can see we have a very empty departure hall today. Let's see how many people are finally going to be on our flight. They didn't check any luggage, which is fantastic. But look, you can see our plane awaiting here. The sun has just gone down. Can't promise great views as we leave, but let's see what we get today. And we can just see the cabin crew arriving. Hopefully we'll be boarding soon. So there's a very small queue of us heading towards the plane this evening. And wow, has that temperature dropped even more? I'm hoping for quite a speedy trip back. Not so many people to board. Hopefully it'll mean that we'll get out a little bit earlier than we anticipated. Oh, check this out, look. That's a Ryanair flight next door, Buzz Airlines. If you haven't heard of that before, a little bit like Lauda Airlines. And look, they haven't even put steps up to the back plane either. There's so few of us, everyone's getting on at the front. That doesn't sound very healthy. Hiya.
Welcome. In the meantime, hope you make yourselves comfortable. I'm sure you've got enough space. I'll speak to you again later on.
So that was the quickest boarding ever this evening. We boarded in about 2 minutes, and there are less than 20 people on this flight. Also asked if I could change seats as well to get a window seat, and the cabin crew said help yourself. So no point in paying extra for an upfront seat today.
Welcome to Palma de Mallorca, where the local time is approaching 10 to 9 and internet access. Please keep your seatbelt securely fastened until the big seatbelt signs about you switch off. Make sure you take all your personal belongings with you, checking in the seat pocket, underneath the seat and in the overhead.
So I can confirm there are around 19 people on that flight this evening coming in from Bristol. Should that flight have flown with so few flight passengers, or should they have rounded up 3 flights of the day and popped them all onto one? Well, that is what they're going to be doing as of next week, from the 1st of November, when the winter season starts. And we're going to go back to seeing these flights from regional airports in the UK, if they're still flying, being rather busy. Anyway, let's head on into arrivals here at Palma Airport. You can just see the purple glow of the EES machines waiting for us. As I did mention in my previous video, I think these machines will be stood down. They would be glowing green if they were active. But let's head on over to passport control. So the flights going back to the UK are going to be a little bit busier than the flights coming into Spain. Lots of half-termers returning from their holidays. But anyway, let's head on through passport control. But look, as you can see, that all these machines have been stood down. So there are plenty of e-gates open this evening, and my daughter went through as well. She's 15. Passport control took literally about 25 seconds, which has to be an all-time record over here at Palma Airport. But then again, like I said, there were less than 20 people on our flight tonight. So that's it. That's our last time through Terminal A for summer 2025. We'll be back over in Terminal C in the winter. Let's see how that goes. Let's head on down to the luggage hall. See, lots of works are taking place over here still at Palma Airport, and I'm sure they'll be continuing on throughout the winter. Look up ahead. Not quite sure what's going on over there. But anyway, that's it from Terminal A for this summer. Thank you very much for watching. I will be travelling over the winter, of course. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Don't forget, you can find me on Facebook and on the Instagram, also called Mallorca Under the Sun. And as we make a beeline out of the luggage hall today, look, and just see how empty it actually is. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.